It took 3 years because takes place over a course of a year, and it took. After the first year, I didn't have enough footage. Do you know what I mean? So we had to go back a summer, a winter. First year it never snowed, so when we went in the winter, but it wasn't snowing. So in the end, what we ended up doing in the final year, we literally went for the weekend. It was like, let us know when it's snowing and we're going to fly over. So that's what we did.
Because you've got family connection there.
My wife's from Romania, that was her family. All of them were her family, and the neighbours in the street who became involved as the film progressed. And I operated the camera and did the sound, and my wife translated. So even though the main actor can speak English and so he can understand, most of them, they can sort of understand what I'm saying, but she would translate and then she would translate back for me. But when they were talking, you always know whether it sounds real, sounds true, sounds convincing. So I would know a take sounded good, but then sometimes my wife would say, no, they're talking about Romanian politics here, and then she would have to, no, could you try and just keep it to these simple, and that's what we do.
Yes, because keeping a Romanians off politics is a big job.
Exactly, and for instance, though, the uncle, who is played by the uncle, he wasn't going to be in the film until literally we were there filming, and I said to him, Dory, and my wife would translate, I said, Dory, why don't you be in the film? We need someone, and we literally went from there with the two actors, and we shot a dialogue scene, and it was so fantastic. It was like, God, he's great. And so from then on, he was in the film. And so, but they really didn't know the story. We played it literally at the beginning of a particular scene. I would explain to them what this scene was going to be about, and we would film it. But they didn't know what the next scene was and the scene before that. Do you know what I mean? And in actual fact, with the grandparents, they almost weren't aware that they were in a film. It was just, when the grandma is peeling garlics, that's what she was doing. And because I'm sort of part of the family, you can get right up and you can film stuff, and they ignore you. So when they were slaughtering the pig, that wasn't special to be filmed. I mean, they were doing that because it was Christmas and we were going, and they waited for me to be there because they wanted me to take part in it. But they didn't know I was going to film it until I turned up. And that was the first scene I filmed. In actual fact, the pictures weren't the problem, it was the sound. And the sound was totally, I had to dub. I mean, most of the film is dubbed, apart from the dialogue scenes. And the first scene, like I say, was the pig slaughter scene, and it was horrific. The sound it could not be used, seriously. It's like, and my wife has never seen a pig slaughter before because the women don't tend to see it. And so, whereas children will see it, little boys will see it. And so she said to me, oh no, I've never seen it, and I said to her, well, if you'd heard it, which she has, because you go inside and you can still hear it, that's the worst bit. Do you know what I mean? So that had to be dubbed. We had to just use pig squealing sound effects, because otherwise it would have just been. So the pictures weren't the problem. No, the reason I use black and white is because I love black and white, and as an amateur, we can. If we were professional, we wouldn't be allowed to use black and white. Do you know what I mean? Whereas an amateur, you can do that thing. So if you feel like you want to film in, and also. I think it was Orson Welles who said the black and white is the actor's friend. Every performance is better in black and white, and I think it does help because it focuses it on, on that performance. I'm not interested in making a political film, but I mean I want to make relevant films, and this is relevant in the world we live in. But no, what I was more interested in this film was. I mean, my wife is Romanian and has left her country, and I'm interested in. Normally you'd hear someone, people leave their countries, and I don't think anything of it, but actually it takes guts, and also the people who you leave behind So I wanted to get across that sense of loss from the people who had gone, but I wasn't interested in the political side of it really. There was one point I was going to use Lily's brother, my wife's brother, and I went over before I started shooting and I literally pointed the camera at him, and I knew straight away he was not going to be any good. But I was lucky after that because everyone I pointed the camera at was so natural, and it was amazing. It was really amazing, and literally all I had to do was point the camera.
And they go.
And they would go. Like the grandmother, there's a bit in the film where she's like throwing the seeds down, and then at a point she sort of stops working and she sort of leans on a sort of trowel, and the camera sort of goes into her face. And I didn't ask her to do that. She just did that. But we laughed afterwards because she's sort of aware that she's playing to the camera,
Yep.
but it comes across so natural.
Yes, it does, totally.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and Doreen now, who's the character with no legs, he was so natural, and like I would ask him to do something, but everything he would do, he would add to it. So like at the beginning of each trip to Romania, we would write a list of all the scenes we needed to do, and then we would look at each other and we would say, and then of course there'd be the moments that we can't plan and will probably be the best moments. And that happened every time. You would do a scene and something they would do, do you know what I mean, would make it so much more amazing, really. I didn't get those performances from them, they gave them to me.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not a director who could do that, but really, and don't forget, I mean, I said to Lily, these are the greatest method actors that have ever been, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Because this is their life. Dorinel has had 40 years with no legs, living, and his life living in that street.